I was in my room, adrift in thoughts about man's existence, the world, and the entire universe. My mind wandered through history's many catastrophes, to humanity's insignificance against everything that surrounds us, not just the physical realm. I dwelled on our ignorance in the vast universe of knowledge, our inability to discern between good and evil, justice and injustice, gratitude and envy. Should mankind even exist on the face of this earth? Or perhaps, should such a corrupt and aggressive species ever have been allowed to emerge? Given the infinitesimal probability of the human race evolving, couldn't a less horrendous species have arisen instead? I can't believe any higher power condones all of this. It's impossible that a being superior to us would let it continue without retaliation or even a simple warning. Well, I should sleep. Dawn is creeping in, and I have work in 4 hours. Once again, my mind, always racing with questions and disbelief, has stolen a night from me. My eyes were leaden with sleep, but it remained just out of reach. An ache pulsed in my back. Now I'll turn over, tuck my hands between my thighs. There, slightly more comfortable? I refuse to toss and turn for another hour. I need to fall asleep now. Otherwise, 4 hours shrink to 3, 3 to 2, 2 to 1, and the final hour vanishes. I'll watch the room brighten and have to drag myself up, shower, scramble for coffee, and trudge to work. How many mornings have I gone to work without a single wink of sleep? A faint rustle, out of place in the quiet of my room. My eyes napped open. Why is it so bright? Did I not sleep at all? Is it time for work already? My gaze landed on the alarm clock. Why is the clock blurred? What time is it? Why has the alarm gone off? I stared ahead, and a flicker of movement caught the corner of my eye. A man stood framed by the window, his form silhouetted against the curtains swaying in the cold night breeze. Who's in my room? I know him, but his name escapes me. I didn't invite anyone over tonight.
How did you get in here? Step away from that window. You'll lose your balance. A fall from here would kill you. We're on the 7th floor.
The man with the disconcertingly familiar face turned, his eyes meeting mine directly.
I heard your thoughts. I sensed your distress, and I am here to show you what you desire,
he said, a faint, knowing smile playing on his lips. What is this man talking about? My mind was a whirlpool, my head throbbing in rhythm with my frantic thoughts. What kind of chaos is this? It looks like daylight in here, but through the window, it's the dead of night. I recognize this man, yet I have no earthly idea who he is. Who are you? What are you doing here? How did you get in? The mysterious man leapt gracefully from the windowsill and strode toward my bed. A paralyzing chill seized me. My breath hitched and my throat constricted, as if gripped by an invisible hand. I don't know him. I need to get out, now, before he does something.
Fear is unnecessary. I mean you no harm. I am the one many call God, the Creator, the Supreme Being. Your second question. I arrived through the window.
He gestured behind him without breaking his serene smile. This man is either lunatic or I'm hallucinating. What is happening? I didn't drink tonight. This has to be a sick joke. Some madman broke into my apartment and spouting absolute nonsense. What kind of delusion is this? God? Supreme Being? Creator? You're a madman who broke in, God knows how, and you're talking to me in the middle of the... What time is it anyway? I can't even see the clock. My vision is too blurry. The mysterious man sat on the edge of my bed, close to my feet. It felt like a deliberate move to unnerve me.
Time is irrelevant.
He whispered, his fingers lightly drumming on my comforter. My vision sharpened on the spot he'd touched. Every fiber of the fabric was suddenly in perfect focus. Slowly, I raised my hands, staring at them. Wait, I can see everything clearly now, even the fine lines on my fingers. Why is only the clock a blur?
I chose to alter that particular detail, hence only the clock appears blurred.
He replied, already standing up. My alarm clock was in his hands, and he was carrying it toward the window. Hey, how did you grab that so fast? Don't you dare throw it! If he breaks the last thing my father gave me. The man glanced back at me, a smirk tugging at his mouth.
Relax. I won't harm the only memento you have of him. I'll leave it right here. My apologies. I find it difficult to remain still. I have a compulsion to touch things, to change them. A habit born of being everywhere at once.
Wait, I didn't say a word about my father or my blurry vision. How could he?
Heard your thoughts?
He finished, his tone dripping with mockery as he let out a short laugh. What is this?
A trivial matter for a god.
He pointed his thumb at his own chest. He read my mind? I must be asleep, trapped in some absurd dream. I squeezed my eyes shut and drew a deep, steadying breath. This is just my mind racing, answering its own questions. There's no one here. This man is a hallucination. I opened my eyes. The man was watching me with a peculiar expression, as if he were doubting what he was seeing.
This is not a dream. You are simply unwilling to accept that I am the supreme being many know as God, and that is precisely why I am here. I knew demonstrating my nature would be necessary to convince you.
He snapped his fingers. A sound resonated deep inside my skull. A blink, a searing flash of light, and then abruptly, absolute darkness.
Look behind you. I believe you'll appreciate this view.
I turned. My breath vanished. I was floating in orbit. The earth hung in the void before me, a majestic blue and white marble, its image burning itself into my very consciousness. The vision seemed to generate a sound, a deep, monstrous roar that vibrated through my skull, threatening to shake my brain loose. With every passing second, the immense planet seemed to draw closer. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. I was certain I was about to be consumed by the sheer immensity of it.
Do not be alarmed. The terrifying sound you hear is merely your own brain simulating the noise of your terror. There is nothing to fear here. You are perfectly safe.
The voice was inside my mind. My eyes remained locked on Earth, unable to pull away. I couldn't turn my head to locate the man.
This is your home, the home of all your kind. Behold its marvel. It is among the most beautiful planets I have ever witnessed, and I have known them all.
His voice shifted as he spoke of Earth, gaining a deeper, more resonant quality. Even in the soundless vacuum, echoes of his words seemed to come from all directions at once.
This is madness. I'm overwhelmed by Earth's grandeur. What is happening? Where is this voice coming from?
Let us increase our distance. Seeing the planet on a more familiar scale will be easier for you to process.
My gaze remained tethered to the colossal globe. The Earth began to spin faster as I was pulled backward, shrinking until it was the size of a watermelon. This can't be real! I thought I was screaming, but the sound died in my throat, trapped behind a wall of awe. I only felt the phantom movement of my lips. The sight was surreal. It felt as if I could cradle the entire planet in my lap. A hand touched my shoulder, a touch that was warm and thrumming with energy. I finally managed to look to the side. The man stood there. I had been so captivated by Earth that I had failed to notice his presence the entire time. It was a strange sensation. He wasn't physically touching me, yet I felt the heat of his form as he circled me, as if I were orbiting a living star.
Know that this is all real. I will show you things far greater than this. I understand you are processing a flood of information, but this is merely a glimpse of what I can reveal.
Everything felt undeniably real. I felt the phantom pressure of his touch, the solidity of my own body, the steady rhythm of my own breath. Wait, how am I breathing? I'm in the vacuum of space. I instinctively held my breath, terrified of the consequences. I knew that I had been breathing normally, but my mind screamed that I was drowning, sinking into an airless sea.
Be calm. Breathe. Such a simple function, dwarfed by the spectacle before you. Do you truly believe I would bring you here only to let you suffocate? The face held a mocking smile. I exhaled in a rush, and then began gulping air, gasping as if I just surfaced from near drowning. If I'm in space, where is the sun, the moon, the stars? All I see is Earth. I shouted, my voice was still ragged. In the space between one instant and the next, the man vanished from in front of me and reappeared at my side. It took you long enough to notice their absence. I see you are still in shock. The thin air is slowing your cognition. But that is a positive sign. It means you have begun to accept what your eyes are showing you.
His whisper was a physical sensation in my ear, the warmth of his breath brushing against it. He raised his right hand. A snap of his fingers, and the sun blazed into existence on my right, plunging half of Earth into stark shadow. I turned away, blinded, and found myself face to face with an enormous object to my left. As the spots cleared from my vision, I could make out countless craters. The moon hung there, a mere dozen kilometers away. My eyes strained inner sockets. I was utterly dumbfounded.
Do you believe what you see now? After such demonstrations, do you accept that I am the creator, a superior being responsible for all this?
He asked, strolling nonchalantly toward the lunar surface. The words tangled in my throat. I'm not doubting my eyes. I can't be sure I can trust them. But this is impossible. It all feels so real. The admission left my lips, carrying a weight that seemed to lift from my chest.
The man glanced back,
A smile gracing his features.
Gaining your trust was simple, but wait. Allow me to show you more, to give those words of yours the substance they crave. Well, I suspect we will be conversing for much of the night.
And then it hit me. I had to be at work at 7 o'clock that same morning. I can't stay here talking. I have to work.
The man shook his head, a slow, deliberate negation. I told you, forget the clock. Time is inconsequential. You will soon understand its true nature.
As he spoke, he opened his arms, his palms facing me. Another snap echoed in the void. Distant lights rushed towards us, stars streaking past like luminous rain. I watched, stunned, as our entire solar system receded at an impossible speed. The universe itself seemed to be streaming past my eyes. I didn't know our destination, but my vision flickered repeatedly into darkness, each blackout lasting only seconds.
Behold,
His voice announced, just as the frantic motion ceased. At first I thought I'd been blinded, but retinal after-images of 1 billion stars left a painful throb behind my eyes. But slowly, pinpricks of light emerged in the darkness. In the distance, a tapestry of stars, and directly below me, a structure of breathtaking luminosity.
it was a vision of grandeur and magnificence.
It looked like the finest dust suspended in some cosmic water. Agitated, it had formed into sharp, rectilinear shapes, yet it also drifted lazily, scattered amidst the radiance of countless young stars. I watched the light play across every particle, creating a spectacle of sublime beauty. While the whole scene appeared frozen, I had the distinct impression of a slow, omnidirectional flow. A serene river of lights hovered in the absolute nothingness. My mind struggled to perceive motion, but I couldn't pinpoint what, if anything, had changed in that sea of brilliance. What is this place? What is that beneath us? It looks like a luminous cloud, but the shapes are so strange. Is it moving? The man began moving toward me. This is what you call the pillars of creation. And yes, it is in constant motion. Though in the brief moment you observe it, your eyes cannot detect the subtle shifts in the gas and dust. Knowing its name, understanding what I was seeing, multiplied my awe 100-fold. The perspective is completely different from the famous photograph. Abruptly, we began to rotate around the colossal spatial sculpture, finally stopping at the exact vantage point of the Hubble telescope's iconic image. It's magnificent. I'm seeing what no other human has. I'm standing before a masterpiece of the universe. I can't lie, it's incredibly hard to believe I'm witnessing up close what we could only glimpse thanks to Hubble. My thoughts were spilling out of my head. I lost all sensation of my body. I couldn't control it. I had been reduced to my disembodied brain, adrift in space. My universe shrunk to sight and sound, devoid of touch or pain. I know precisely what is happening in your mind, and I know you are already aware of its reality. Breathe, relax. Your mind needs a moment of respite. Then you will be able to process this vision. I obeyed. I felt a sudden jolt, as if my consciousness had been switched off and on again, like an old cathode ray television. My thoughts settled into a coherent stream. The connection to my body was restored. Now I could see the pillars of creation in even greater detail. There were 3 towering structures illuminated from within by the fierce light of nascent stars. Light pierced the layered dust, creating celestial plays of illumination and deep shadow. They rose like 3 fingers from an unseen hand, but from their surfaces something else seemed to bloom. Violent, explosive formations, as if a colossal projectile had torn through the structure, devastating it. The entire scene was a static image frozen in time, a perfect photograph. Yet the longer I stared, I felt a pervasive, subtle movement. It was like watching a photograph being intently folded, though I could never say what had changed. New details swam into focus with every passing moment. My mind began projecting shapes onto the scattered dust, like a child finding figures in the clouds. The more I looked, the more forms emerged from my imagination. I saw a horse's head at the tip of one pillar. I searched for its body, but the search only revealed more heads. Men, women, birds, a gallery of strange and frightening faces formed from illuminated nebulosity. My eyes journeyed across every contour. Each explosive tendril formed some new figure, and the seemingly static fluidity bred confusion in my mind. What I had seen mere instants before had already morphed into something else. Now I saw 3 specters, wrapped in terrifying cloaks, 3 horrific entities wandering the cosmos. What had seemed static was now undeniably in motion. One moment they shifted, the next they were frozen, their flowing cloaks unchanged, like fine mantles woven from threads of smoke. I blinked. The structure returned to normal. The ghosts were gone. I tried to find them again, but they had vanished. Before me was the Hubble photo. And where I had once been a floating intellect, I now felt my body's presence. My mind was fully back. I felt the frantic pounding of my heart, the dry dryness of my mouth. Is there truly something mystical about the structure? I turned to the man. He radiated tranquility, a faint, knowing smile on his lips. Is this structure in the middle of the universe truly the pillars you built for all existence? The moment the sound came it came from the goddamn bird. He sometimes makes some extremely real sound effects. Oh, ask whatever you wish. As for the pillars, that is a name you bestowed. You need only understand that I am the pillar of creation. I am responsible for all these hearts of works, as you call them. That name, however brilliant, is meaningless. You are looking at a tangled knot of matter, gas and dust drifting through the void. It is magnificent, but it holds no significance for the universe. Wait, I retorted. The pillars of creation don't exist anymore. Studies confirmed years ago that a supernova destroyed them thousands of years ago. The man's hand was on my shoulder again, pulling me back. We were rapidly retreating from the pillars. It seems you keep your knowledge current. As I said, time is irrelevant. Do not trouble yourself with it. A titanic explosion bloomed in the darkness, and the pillars dissolved into nothingness. The cosmic masterpiece was erased in seconds before my eyes. You see, the pillars of creation have nothing to do with the universe's true genesis. If they did, the universe would have crumbled with them. Look at me. I am here showing you this. The universe will cease only when I will it. My mind was operating at its absolute limit, trying to reconcile the sidereal spectacle. I didn't know how to address the being who had granted me this vision. I knew he was speaking, but I couldn't process the words. My focus was entirely consumed by the event. His voice sounded in my ear, calm and clear. Breathe. Your reasoning will return now. A profound calm descended. My mind replayed his words, perfectly synchronized with the memory of the explosion. My faculties were restored.
We were back in my room. He stood by the window, looking at me. I was sitting on my bed, as if nothing had ever happened.
I decided to bring you back. Our conversation will be more productive here.
My heart was a frantic drum against my ribs. I expected another magnificent vision.
I can show you infinitely more. I believe before our talk is done, I will take you to see some of my other secrets scattered throughout existence.
The ease with which he answered my internal monologue was disconcerting, but the strangeness was fading, replaced by a grim acceptance of this new reality. I think my mind is finally catching up. The man left his post at the window and approached my bed.
Come now, you have a God standing before you. Few men are granted this opportunity. Ask me anything. What is your foremost question? Let us take advantage of your clarified state of mind. Ask your most pressing questions, and I will show you things of even greater import.
Okay, I said, stretching my arms as if physically arranging my thoughts for the first question. Formulating it was difficult, but I had already passed the point of no return. If this was a dream, I had to seize the semblance of control to exploit this impossible experience. If it was real, I could write papers that would revolutionize modern science, proving concepts that would take generations to verify. You took me into the depths of the universe. You claim to be the creator of all this. Can you explain how it all works? How was everything in the universe truly created? A wide, genuine smile spread across the man's face.
Of course. But for that, you must be more specific. The universe contains countless things since its inception, and I doubt you wish to see them all. Some parts are dreadfully boring. You know, the stretches that take millions of years. I prefer to skip those. Your time and mine are vastly different. What I perceive as a blink is thousands of generations for you. One piece of advice:
Cease thinking this is a dream, or you will gain nothing from our dialogue.
His expression sobered. He seemed displeased to have to give that warning. It was a mental slap. I needed to change my perspective, to interpret his demonstrations for what they were. Okay, I think I understand. First question, what did you mean about time? Can you explain it properly? Why is it different? Why shouldn't I worry about it? The man began to pace the length of my room.
I just shewed you the pillars of creation, yet you know they ceased to exist millennia ago. I can go anywhere, to any when. I can return to the moment of creation itself. Omniscient, I know everything because I can see and review all events. Omnipresent, I am everywhere across all time. To complete the answer, you witnessed the pillars destroyed by a supernova in seconds, an event that unfolds over eons. I presented it in a time frame your brief lifespan could comprehend. You wouldn't see a thousandth of it if you observed for your entire life.
Okay, so I don't need to worry about time because you're moving me through it.
Precisely, he replied. I had to bring you with me for you to witness these events. As God, I can place you anywhere, at any time, in any situation.
How did you attain all this? When did you become aware of your full power?
I did not become aware of it. Everything originated from the act of creation. I am the reason everything exists as it does. I possess these abilities because the universe was created from me, from my movement.
From your movement? What does that mean? Are you saying the universe was shaped by your hands, all its infinite details? Or that your fingers orchestrated everything, like a conductor? Or, I don't know, you began moving as if in a dance? I felt the familiar flush of foolishness with that last question.
Not exactly, yet simultaneously, yes. Except for the dance, of course. A rather silly question, but it's to be expected. Initially, I did not use hands. Later, I employed them frequently to create and modify the infinite things that exist.
All right then, explain the beginning. How did you create the universe? What was the first point, the first particle? What initiated the first movement? The man brought a hand to his chin, appearing to ponder my question deeply. It must be incredibly difficult to explain.
It is not so difficult. I am merely deciding whether to answer by explaining only what you know of your universe, or to speak of the creation of everything itself.
What do you mean, my universe? Confusion was etched plainly on my face.
There,
The man exclaimed, a lopsided grin appearing as he raised his index finger.
now we have the specific question that requires me to speak of the absolute beginning. I will tell you what happened before your universe existed.
A sharp crack resonated inside my skull. My eyes were open, yet I saw only profound blackness. I blinked repeatedly, but nothing changed. I heard the man's voice, though he was nowhere to be seen.
I need you here to explain this. Consider this a blackboard. You will comprehend what occurred, though you cannot see it with your eyes.
A light flared in the darkness, like a comet, a ball of fire. It began to move, leaving an incandescent trail that drew intricate circles and curves in the void before me.
I will illustrate it for you, said the man. In the beginning, nothing existed, only me. But I was not then what you know now. I became what I am the moment I moved. I had been motionless for an eternity, but at a specific instant, I desired to move at the maximum possible speed. So I moved beyond the greatest velocity. You define it as light. I define it as the limit for the divine.
Darkness prevailed as he spoke. Suddenly, the ball of fire shot forth in a perfectly straight line.
This is me moving through the absolute nothing, and from my body, everything around me began to vibrate. Yes, what you call string theory is, in truth, the vibration I caused in the void. All matter was created from the vibrations surrounding me.
That's string theory? No, it's impossible. A single body couldn't generate enough energy to initiate the process described by that theory.
It is not impossible, for it occurred. Those infinite vibrations across infinite dimensions gave rise to everything you know.
Infinite dimensions? Your body doesn't possess infinite dimensions. You merely move through space. How could that create more than 3 dimensions?
Do you truly believe my body was confined to 3 dimensions? Do you think any dimension existed before I moved? Everything, including dimensions, was created after my movement. Nothing existed but me. At the inception of my motion, everything began to be created.
So from that emerged what we know as the Big Bang? The initial singularity everyone theorizes about was actually the generation of dimensions followed by particles created through vibration, just as string theory suggests, and
Slow down!
the man cut me off.
That is still eons away from happening.
A profound emptiness opened within my mind. The implication of his last statement made me feel infinitesimally small and detached from everything, even myself.
Do not feel diminished by this. Direct your attention here. Observe what I am showing you.
Another mental snap jolted me back to awareness. Okay, I see you moving through nothingness like a comet, but I don't see the matter that formed around you. What was it then?
You cannot see the matter around me because it moved away from me and formed the first universe. This you will see.
The first universe? There isn't only this one. How many are there? 2? The one I know and a parallel or an older one?
No, there are vastly more than 2. You will witness something akin to fireworks. The first explosion was the first universe, but there were infinite explosions, or, as you might say, an eternal light show.
I watched as other fragments of light erupted from the sides of the main ball of fire. They distanced themselves, dividing and changing trajectory from the original source like leaves sprouting and spreading from a growing cornstalk. At a certain point, those tiny light fragments burst open in brilliant explosions. This process multiplied infinitely wherever the primary ball of fire passed.
Each of these explosions is a universe born from my movement, each with its own reality, its own physical laws and peculiarities.
Witnessing this, I remembered the expansion of our universe. A thought occurred to me. With countless points side by side forming a cloud along the ball of fire's path, surely these universes would eventually collide.
If multiple universes were created in a straight line, will they not eventually touch? Just as I see these explosions, our universe expands. Can multiple universes coexist in the same space? Has this already happened? No, he replied instantly. Since I was moving at an accelerated pace in a single direction, the universes are dragged along in my wake. The farther a universe is from my point of origin, the faster it moves. They will never touch. Their expansion velocity is negligible compared to the speed of their drag from my motion. This is why each universe's reality is unique. Einstein described it splendidly in his theory of relativity. To be frank, he was the man who came closest to describing one of the fundamental principles of universal creation.
What do you mean the realities of each universe are different?
Just as Einstein predicted, time slows for a body at high velocity. All physical characteristics are altered by a universe's proximity to the light speed of its creation. When I speak of creation, I refer to something immensely powerful, on a scale far beyond your imagination. We are talking about countless high-density particles traveling at relativistic speeds.
You're using many adjectives, but I'm still not grasping it.
If you could have inhabited Einstein's mind as he pondered this, you would comprehend 1% of what I'm telling you.
And were you with him?
No.
So you're saying a man managed to describe a detail of creation without knowing any of this? Tell me the truth. You met Einstein and shaped him into the genius we know.
No, I did not meet him.
I heard his voice, though an image of him frowning appeared in my mind.
I offered him no assistance. Einstein achieved it entirely on his own. The most remarkable part is that he intuited this from the first day he contemplated the cosmos. Furthermore, all universes bear traces of their creation. The speed of light was a brilliant observation, as it is a constant limit across all of them. Had Einstein been born in any universe, he would have reached the same conclusions.
He speaks as if he simulated this in another universe.
I did not simulate it. I simply know how that man's mind worked.
All right. Regarding the speed of light is a limit. You surpassed it, so it's not a true limit.
It is a limit for everything else that now exists. To give you an idea, if anything exceeds light speed, it ceases to exist in its original form. Its matter changes. Its properties invert.
Inverted properties. I'm still confused. If it's a limit, but you passed it, and things change when they pass it, then it's possible to cross this supposed boundary?
I mentioned this before, a limit for the divine. I surpassed it, and thus I am God. It is that simple. By transcending the velocity boundary, I gained mastery over time to stop it, rewind it, journey to the farthest future. I can visit the past or the future, experience them as the present, and modify them as I see fit. That is where my hands become relevant. With a mere gesture, I can alter the physical and chemical properties of anything. I can change the fundamental reality of how things operate. What you call gravity, I can nullify, reformulate, or transform into a force with entirely different mechanics and characteristics. Across the infinite universes, I am the common point. I can jump between them, modify them, turn a speck of nothing into a world teeming with life and intricate detail. Many universes function in ways completely alien to your own. I am the creator of all, and I can interact with all of it. I can create or even destroy. In summary, by transcending the limit, I, a thinking being, became omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient.
A thinking being. I am here with him, seeing everything, traveling the cosmos. I must have surpassed light speed. Would that make me a god too?
You did not travel at light speed. I merely placed you where I wished you to be. Your body could not withstand the journey.
This is a lot to absorb, but I think I understand the beginning and how you became who you are. But what about my universe? Where does it fit into this story? Amidst the countless universes I saw being born, I cannot distinguish the one I live in.
Let us return to the demonstration. Observe how many universes formed, moving away from my body and expanding. Now, let us fast forward. Let us skip millennia and proceed to the moment of your universe's formation. I must accelerate our perception of time, as the period until Earth's creation would feel interminably long to you.
A snap of his fingers. Time became a blur. The ball of fire traversed an incomprehensible distance, countless fireworks bursting in its wake. Gradually, Time's flow normalized. My focus was drawn to a distinct event. Two bursts of light emerged simultaneously, shooting off in opposite directions.
Observe, this is the formation of your universe. Among the infinite multitude, this is where the history you know began.
Okay, but which one? The one on the right?
Yes, the one on the left is the universe parallel to yours. You were quite fortunate to have a parallel universe. Few of the creations possess this peculiarity.
How does that work? What's in the parallel universe?
Largely the same things as in yours, yet profoundly different, despite sharing similar events. The crucial element is the connection between them. Events in one universe influence the other. A shared particularity exists. Their particles are linked. You describe it as spooky action at a distance, but the human term is quantum entanglement. Once again, Einstein uncovered this. Another remnant of creation found its way into that man's ideas. This phenomenon applies to only a few universes.
I'm astonished. God is an Einstein fan.
I am not a fan, but his mind truly was exceptional. To return to the subject, two particles within the same universe can undergo identical changes simultaneously, as if connected. This occurs only because your universe has a parallel counterpart functioning in a similar manner.
One question, if events in one universe directly impact the other, are we constantly at risk from catastrophes originating there, suffering the consequences here?
It is simpler than you imagine. If both universes experience analogous events, occurrences in one can be predicted in the other.
So having a parallel universe is pointless? It's just a useless copy with no real impact?
It does not impact your universe because conditions there are vastly different. The other side undergoes constant random changes.
But how if they're connected?
The distinction is that you exist in your universe. Your power to modify your reality causes the parallel universe to experience sudden, unpredictable alterations because you are altering something to which it is connected.
How bizarre. Are the doll-like creatures resembling us wandering a planet like Earth?
Logically possible, but no. There is no trace of humanity in the parallel universe. Your species was created after your universe's formation. The atomic connections do not exist within you.
What is the Earth like over there? Identical to ours?
Another snap.
A strange landscape materialized, dark hues, choking smoke, a pungent odor, an intense heat.
Behold the parallel universe's version of Earth.
This looks nothing like Earth.
Of course not. It is a parallel universe. The difference between your understanding of quantum entanglement and this reality is that the long-distance atomic connections are with different atoms. What you know as water is sulfuric acid here. The white fluffy clouds of your Earth are these yellow, sulfur-laden vapors. It's profoundly unsettling. I watched parts of the landscape shift randomly, explosions, pits, and tunnels forming across plains and mountains. An impression of invisible monsters haunting the entire area took root in my mind.
This is nothing like Earth. My concept of a parallel universe was completely wrong. If Earth is so different, could inhabitable planets in our universe be habitable there?
Excellent deduction.
If water is acid there, then acid must be water here. I felt a surge of intellectual triumph.
That would hold true if the universe contained only those two elements, but reality is more complex.
My brief moment of genius evaporated, replaced by familiar foolishness.
Another snap.
I stood on dark soil, beneath impenetrably thick black clouds that blotted out the sun. Object rained from the sky, unidentifiable.
This is welcome to the parallel universe's version of Venus. Here it rains rocks. The atmosphere is so dense and hot that rocks are buoyed by vapors of heavy metals, only to fall like hailstones. You see, this place is far worse than your Earth.
Another snap. Finally, a serene vista. Blue sky, crystal clear water, red soil, mountains, hills, rivers, lakes, dense white clouds scattered above. But no vegetation, no sign of life.
You have never heard of this planet?
Given the sudden shift, I thought we were on Mercury, but the sun appears smaller.
This planet is not in your solar system.
It's not. Where are we?
Near the center of the Milky Way. This region has many carbon planets. Some call this one the carbon planet.
And what is the planet truly like?
There, you cannot see your hand in front of your face. Soot fills the atmosphere amidst yellow gases, a dense, polluted haze. It has bubbling lakes of methane, and what you see as soil is hot black mud. What is water here is in reality gasoline and asphalt at high temperatures.
This is both terrifying and fascinating, but I still wish to understand my universe's beginning. Since my undergraduate studies of the Big Bang has captivated me, exploring other planets while answering my questions about my own, I want to know what happened at the very beginning. What became of the particles immediately after they broke away from you? What do we know about the Big Bang, and how does it connect to your creation?
Once more, I was in darkness, watching the ball of fire travel its straight path. At your universe's inception, a vast quantity of particles moved away from my vicinity. By then, my velocity far exceeded light speed, so the particles also traveled at relativistic or even superluminal velocities.
Okay, so these are divine particles, and I assume you use them to create things.
They did not become divine. They became something entirely different from your ordinary observations. The particles traveling near light speed became what you call black holes. Once again, Einstein described a creation event.
I don't recall him mentioning that. Particles at light speed forming black holes?
He suggested that a body's mass increases with its velocity, as if its weight grew.
So you're saying their immense speed, close to light, made them so massive their gravitational effect resembled a black hole?
Essentially, these particles rapidly decelerated because their enormous mass gravitationally attracted slower-moving particles. As matter accumulated around the central particle, its mass grew until it was so immense that its gravity could trap light itself. The process was intensely violent and abrupt. I call it an inverse explosion, like a bomb detonating in reverse, all particles flying toward a single point, a black hole.
So most black holes formed at the beginning of creation?
The majority, yes, but slower particles formed planets and stars. Given sufficient time and size, some of these also collapsed into black holes. Other black holes formed from stellar mergers or the implosion of gigantic planetary systems.
But if most particles were near light speed, why aren't all space objects black holes?
The interaction within that initial particle cloud was profoundly turbulent. Some particles were pulled into opposite directions, remaining relatively stationary.
It feels strange to hear you call objects as vast as planets and stars particles.
Compared to the immensity of universe's creation, your largest star seems smaller than an atom to you.
That makes sense, like a pebble comparing as a mountain to an ant. Okay, one thing about the universe's first moments still puzzles me. If near-light speed particles formed black holes, what happened to those that exceeded it? You said they aren't divine, but even if they were, I can't fathom what that means.
The answer is closer than you think. Those particles constitute what you call dark matter.
Hearing this felt like a thunderclap inside my skull. So it truly exists? The astronomers' analyses were correct?
Yes. Dark matter permeates most of the universes in varying quantities. Some of the earliest universes have none. Interestingly, the more black holes a universe contains, the greater its dark matter, as both depend on the universe's initial creation velocity. Yours, for instance, formed much later in my journey. My speed was so extreme that most of your universe is dark matter.
Incredible. So we were right. About 80% of the universe is dark matter, as our studies predicted.
To be precise, 81.60519%. The decimal continues, non-repeating until it ends.
A non-repeating decimal?
The digits do not repeat, and the sequence terminates.
So all universes, except the very first, contain black holes and dark matter?
Actually, universes created much later consist almost entirely of dark matter.
The distribution of universes along your path follows a fascinating logic.
Regarding your universe's creation, black holes and dark matter, I believe that covers it. There is little more to say.
I'd like to know what's inside a black hole and to see dark matter. What is it like?
I knew you'd ask. To be perfectly candid, we are already inside one, but I see nothing. That is the nature of a place that imprisons light.
Yes, but you are the creator, God. Can't you show me? Make me perceive it differently.
Let us do this. I will remove us from it. But I warn you, there is nothing remarkable within a black hole.
I felt a disorienting shift, a dark boundary receding behind us. Before me hung a perfect, featureless black sphere. I was outside, yet a phantom sensation lingered in my chest, as if the part of me remained at its center. A profound emptiness filled me.
I told you it holds nothing of interest, merely a dark sphere. Without reflected light, it is perfectly black.
I'm stunned by its size. I'm the first human to see a black hole as it truly is, a perfect sphere. I can discern no imperfections from here.
It is indeed perfect.
I attended to every detail. In dark matter? May I see it? We moved through the cosmos. Hazy reddish clouds began to appear in my visual field.
These clouds represent what you term dark matter. They are neither particles nor waves. I find it strange to label them matter by your definitions. The color is for your reference. In reality, your eyes could not perceive it. It reflects or emits no wavelength.
To my knowledge, they cause significant gravitational anomalies. Since massive gravitational bodies are spherical, why are these clouds formless?
Remember, dark matter originates from particles that surpass light speed. They do not conform to known physics. They exert gravity, but are not subject to attraction. They do not interact with light or other particles. They can pass through planets, stars, entire galaxies, inducing gravitational variations.
Truly, dark matter is an enigma. We could never prove something invisible and non-interacting.
The key is their gravitational influence. If you develop technology to detect gravitational distortions, not gravitational lensing, you could perceive dark matter indirectly and also see black holes as you do now.
I have no idea how to achieve that, but the scientific revolution such equipment would cause.
Dark matter possesses unique characteristics. Its nature and origin are consistent across universes. It acts as a cosmic anchor, like a glue or a magnet. As they anchor, but not in a fixed sense, they wander. I mean, it stabilizes celestial bodies, maintaining their orbital paths.
So, dark matter gives galaxies their shape?
Fundamentally, yes.
Can I then state that the dark matter permeating the Milky Way has a spiral structure?
Yes, with exceptions. These hypothetical clouds are distributed in a spiral.
And the other universes, what are they like? Many are profoundly different from your own, but I will share an important distinction. Gravity is not uniform. As you noted, sphericity in your universe results from gravitational forces. This is not true elsewhere. Furthermore, in my travels, I have modified them with my own hands. You must see.
Suddenly, I was submerged in an alien ocean.
Have you ever seen bubbles that change shape?
What kind of a question is that? I frowned, looking at the man. He had to be joking. A massive cube of air emerged from below, drifting slowly past us. The man extended a hand. At his touch, the cube fractured into countless smaller parts, blossoming like a field of roses.
The petals of air scattered, then coalesced again, forming new cubic bubbles. Fascinating, is it not? They are analogous to your terrestrial bubbles, but cubic, and their dissolution is a spectacle. How would your physics explain this? What theoretical frameworks would you construct to describe six-faced, perfectly planar bubbles? How long would philosophers debate the mechanics of this universe? Consider if humanity were transplanted here. Your technologies would be useless. Wave-based communication, tools, musical instruments, nothing would function as expected. I studied his face. It was alight with a broad smile, his eyes wide and fixed on the horizon, gleaming with excitement. I'm overwhelmed by these implications, by the potential to influence human evolution. But I'm equally struck by God's sense of humor. A sense of humor is a quality I appreciate in mankind. Many possess and wield it masterfully. The environment shifted. We were now in a sky as blue as Earth's. What's happening? Are we back on Earth? Why are we flying? I see nothing below.
We are not flying. We are drifting through the first universe I created. Here there are no black holes, only a single star and a single planet. All the particles from the initial fireworks,
He made air quotes with his fingers,
coalesced into two large objects, orbiting within a dense layer of gases enveloping the star. I brought you here to witness the potential for divergence, to observe the mechanics of a universe predating your own, which I personally altered.
Among so many universes, did you create beings different from us? Saying beings different from us feels strange. They wouldn't be men, but something else entirely. Aliens, perhaps.
No, humans exist solely in your universe. And dismiss the notion of intelligent aliens. As you've witnessed, not even the parallel universe contains humans. This, in fact, is the primary reason for my particular interest in your kind.
Why didn't you create them in other universes or on other planets?
I granted you the freedom of thought, a quality resembling my own mind. I gave you free will to act according to your desires. Subsequently, I observed a shift in the future. While I can always traverse past, present, and future, altering details, after humanity's creation, your futures were placed in your own hands. Though not omnipotent yourselves, I can no longer perceive your futures with certainty or modify them. Not even your pasts can be altered. Once I granted you free will. Moreover, everything you perceive, create, or touch becomes a permanent part of the past and an unpredictable variable in the future, for you possess the power to alter their realities. An inherent uncertainty now resides in your future. Witnessing this change, I dared not replicate it elsewhere. I observe your actions closely, curious to see the final outcome.
And a growing unease took hold of me. If he cannot predict our future, and if our past is immutable even to him, then who are we truly? Would his humanity become to have disturbed divine certainty itself? What have we done? What are we going to do?
And so, a simple nighttime conversation turned into a journey that redefined everything I thought I knew. If this journey has also resonated with you, it doesn't have to end here. To keep this story going, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other curious minds. And if you want to have this complete experience in the palm of your hand and support me in creating more adventures like this, all of my books are available on Amazon Kindle. The links to dive right in are in the description, just one click away. Your support as a reader is what turns these ideas into new stories. Thank you very much.